quickly introduce ourselves and state whether or not we have any conflicts reviewing this project today. I'm James Hall, and I do not have any conflicts.
Bruce Fallon, and I don't have any conflicts.
Quinn Peterson, no conflicts.
All right. Andy, can you jump to the next screen, please? All right, so item 1 today is David Peterson requests design review approval for a new 129 unit apartment building in the interim transit-oriented development zone located at 156 West, 500 South. All right.
You don't look like Dustin.
No, I'm not. My name is Nancy Robinson. I'm filling in for Dustin today. So we just have a couple of slides. This is the location of where it will be. So 156 West and 500 South. Then we've got the building footprint with the landscape plan on it there, as well as elevations, renderings. And then finally, some picture, more photo type ones. And staff finds that the proposed project meets all the development standards for that location, which are also listed in your report there. So I don't know if you have any questions for me. You can have the developer give their portion.
All right. Someone from the development team wants to kind of walk us through the project a little bit.
I'm Brett Harris with Harris Architecture. This is a 7-story building with an underground parking garage. The first 2 levels of this building are parking, with the exception of the front portion of the level 1 is retail and amenity space. We have 127 units, a mix of 1 bedroom and studio, 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. We have the building takes up pretty much all of the site, so all of the amenity space, they require 10% of amenity space is located inside the building. We've accounted for 1.5 stalls of parking, and then also the required bike parking as well. Part of the amenity space is on the 3rd level, on a courtyard level, and then on the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th levels. The top corner on that elevation you can see is kind of an open area where it's there's an open portion of the amenity up there, and also enclosed. Yep. So up there, the materials are, the base is hard material, probably going to be a brick. And there is what we're calling out. We've got less than 10% of stucco on the building in certain areas. The rest will be a siding and a hardy board, cement board product. Other than that, do you have any questions?
So we see the wood color, go back to the facade image. Yeah, so on this top image here, we see the 2 little L's. Is this outlining where the commercial space will be?
Yes. You've got the entry on the corner going into the parking structure.
Okay.
And then the L-shaped portions right there will be the retail.
Okay.
Or the amenity space, whether it's exercise, breakout spaces,
Okay, amenity space.
Yeah.
Okay,
Amenity
I
space.
wondered if it was going to be commercial, retail, restaurant,
Yeah, but right now it's slated for amenity space,
okay,
for possibly the exercise room or some type of community space.
So is there an exterior entrance to that?
Yes, there's entrances in all 3 portions of the glass, plus the main entry with the canopy.
Okay.
There. So there is entries from the sidewalk into each of those spaces. We maintain that the code requires at least every 50 feet you need an access, and so that's that we've more than covered that.
I was just going to say, I'm very pleased to see real wood on the board here. So I'm excited to see this go up and see how it ages with the property.
Yeah.
So, in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah.
I don't want it to look like a Lego house forever. So
Well, and to be honest, I grew up in Oregon, so seeing wood age, it actually enriches, I think, the building.
Yeah.
You know, yes, I know, I understand there's a maintenance component to it, certainly, but it's a feature that I think I wish we did more often. So, but my question, and I don't know if it's for you, Brett, if it's for staff, to make sure I understand. So under the ITOD standards, it indicates that building wall materials shall be combined on each facade horizontally only. And as I look at this, I see a lot of vertical elements. And maybe this is a bias that I have in terms of I see a lot of multifamily housing that has these tall, skinny elements. And I actually blame cities for this, Brett, because we do, you know, enough work in this, this articulation.
Yeah.
And I think you look at some of the most handsome buildings that have maintained their handsomeness for many, many, many years, and you don't see that vertical articulation. And again, I don't know that the vertical articulation is required. So I'm trying to understand what this means from a city staff perspective, and in terms of what does it mean to be horizontal only.
If I am reading it correctly, then it's just the fact that like the brick, you know, the heavier material, like the brick is on the base. And so as you're looking at it, it seems, you know, heavier at the bottom and going up. It's
Sure.
But I don't think it's just saying that the materials can only go horizontal.
Okay. That's not super clear.
Right.
So it'd be helpful to maybe clarify that in subsequent.
Yeah. We've also
iterations.
tried to maintain in more modern terms, the base, middle, and cap. So you got the base, the heavy elements on the base, the middle, and then the top cornice that would be the cap. So that's when they talk about those three items, you know, as far as horizontal, that's what we try to maintain in this building is the base, middle, and cap, but yet did more vertical in those areas, except for the base is really, you know, pretty much solid.
Yeah, I think it's the proportion and scale of all of the skinny elements that surround the building.
Yeah.
That I take issue with. I wish that there was not so much. I mean, that east elevation is really broken up.
Yeah.
And I wish it wasn't so much. I wish it was a little more.
It'll be covered
consistent.
halfway by
the
by
adjacent.
Fairbanks.
Yeah, no, I
By,
know, I get
so-
that. Yeah. So, but I mean, but it won't be on the front elevation where
Yeah.
your stair entrance is.
Right.
That's a really tall, skinny element that to me is out of proportion and scale.
Right.
That I wish maybe there was another way of approaching that. So,
Yeah, definitely a different, you know, when you get into the modern type of design, it tends to lean away from that horizontal, you know, character.
yeah,
of
but
the-
proportion and scale doesn't go away when you're,
Yeah.
whether you're doing modern or traditional
Yeah.
design. So that's
Yeah.
my
Okay.
2 cents.
Yeah, I'd just chime in agreement, especially on that right side of the top rendering. I think that it's probably articulating each unit width, but it does feel like it's pretty staccato, and maybe if it was just two elements, it would feel zebra-ish. The third element maybe helps a little bit materially, but I think maybe trying to just consolidate them so it's 2 units wide, the vertical bands instead of single unit width, so that the materials can read a little bit more unified rather than so stripy.
I mean, I would guess that the balcony and the adjacent window is 1 unit.
Yeah,
Okay.
the challenge you have within the city ordinance, you have to recess your deck
No, you
within the
don't.
unit.
You don't have to. That's not what I read. So it clearly states it can be
Will you
recessed
clarify that,
or it
Bill?
can,
Because we're having to recess part of that deck, and then it only could overhang, you know, we can't be a certain distance away from the property line with the deck. So the decks are even more recessed. than the top.
on this side, you're probably right. On the street side, it does allow you to overhang the street.
Yeah. But
Right away. So
yeah, on
that's-
the other side, there's an area in the code that talks about, you know, having that deck balcony a certain distance away from the property line. You remember that on the code about the recess on the deck?
Yeah, it really just talks about the street right of way. That's what I'm reading here. So it says the balconies may be inset into the building or may project into the street right of way. So on that east elevation, you're probably right, Brett. It's you know, you have that constraint of the building property line, but on this south elevation, it can either project or it just can't be more than 5 feet over the street right of way.
Right, correct. On the front, yeah, it's definitely different on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the other only thing design-wise that would be kind of interesting to explore is you've got on the entrance, above the entrance for the parking area, that nice sort of rectilinear push out. Be interesting to pull the interior that's framed by that in a little bit. And that may not work programmatically, just so that there's a little bit more distinction of that element in comparison to the flat facade of the other units on the right there.
Okay. Yeah, the actual garage door, which is the security door, is actually inset about 20 feet. So when you come through there, you'll see that element back in there. But
Yeah,
but
sorry,
I can see what you're talking about.
yeah, not really referring to the entrance for the cars, but above that on the, looks like the 3rd through the 6th, 5th, where you have the sort of rectangular volume that's sort of projecting out, insetting the interior part of that a little bit to offset from the surface of the rest of the facade.
Okay. Yeah, the windows.
Yeah, it would be quite interesting just to really push that element to be even more exaggerated.
Yeah, I think there's some good things going on with this, Brett. I really like the several things about it. It's just, like I said, it's the proportion and scale of those tall, skinny elements that I've
It gets
struggled with.
repetitive. I understand.
Yeah. And again, it's you see it with a lot of multifamily housing complexes, and then I take issue with it personally as an architect. So I just roll my eyes. Yeah.
I was just going to ask about any plans for exterior lighting on the facade, the street side.
We haven't, because it's fairly conceptual, we haven't got to that point, but there will be some lighting on there, but it will meet the city code for the uplighting and the things that we need to incorporate there.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Anyone here for public comment? Okay, doesn't look like it. Thank you. So as the design review committee, we can make requirements that go before the planning committee. We can make recommendations as well that will be added to our approval. And they're not a requirement per se, but the planning commission will consider them as the project continues. Any thoughts on requirements or recommendations? I personally lean towards recommending that you take another look at the vertical material spacing on that facade. Is it the east facade?
Well, you got it on really on all four.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
3 of the 4 sides as I see it. So
yeah. So around the building. I don't personally think it needs to be a requirement, but might be nice for them to continue looking at. Any other items?
that's it for me.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion to recommend approval of the, I don't know, again, I always get that bad. Are we recommending approval or are we approving the design?
We're approving with the recommendation.
Okay, sorry. It's planning commission lingo that sticks with me. So I would recommend approval of the design with the recommendation to study the vertical spacing of the materials on those 3 elevations.
And I'll second that.
Okay, great. All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And I believe that's our only item for today. So I'll motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.